Oh,
It's fine.
popping in, popping out.
Hello.
See,
Howdy, howdy.
howdy, howdy. Nice to meet you. I'm Phantom Heart. I'm Junkie's script editor. I'm working as co-writer. I had that in that huge word vomit. Um,
hmm
yeah, is Junk. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Hi, my
He,
name's Junkie. I do YouTube videos about commentaries and random shit I see. Been alerted about this whole situation from a few other YouTubers that are friends of mine, and I brought in Fandom Heart to make sure that we both have a
Mhm,
general, unbiased perspective on this, and we were contacting a bunch of people, and one of those
mhm.
people is you.
hmm
So
Yeah,
we got a few questions to ask. Phantom, what are they?
yeah. So since when we were going into this research project, we had a lot of people mentioning the yaoi drama,
hmm
and notably, nobody was going in depth in it. So
hmm
while we were asking around, a lot of people referred us to look towards you. So we watched your initial video on the situation and
hmm
wanted to get some more information about that as well. Because honestly, this is like a big project that we need to look into every video and understand
hmm
everybody's perspective about. So we found that
hmm
you'd be very informative, informative about this topic.
I guess. No
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
So in regards to the Yaoi situation, as far as I know from what people were criticizing Toby for, they were criticizing her, the standard people who were criticizing her for even liking Yaoi BL, being into the topic, but she also was saying and doing things that even people, full disclosure, I am a Fujoshi, I'm somebody who's
yeah.
very into BL Yaoi, it's very prominent on my YouTube channel and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing things that even our community was like, nah, this isn't it, chief. So essentially, what she was doing was she was going around telling people who were gay men or people who were LGBT that they basically their opinion didn't matter. She was doing it very crassly on her comments and tweets that she was getting. And while I sympathized with the fact that she was getting hate, because I myself have gotten hate, been sent terrible like threats to my life just because I liked yaoi or I drew yaoi, I wasn't agreeing with her whole just dismissive behavior and just literally trolling people and tearing on to even kind of homophobic like talk. It was I was watching it from the sidelines and I was like, okay, this is very strange. And what the straw that was what broke the camel's back for me was when, in response to the hate she was getting, she decided to, and this was all at the same time when she was going through the Ben the Looney drama and trying to call him as a pedophile. She was sending, not only sending people to Ben the Looney's page saying he was a pedophile, she was also recommending adult yaoi to her minor audience, who she made very clear in the same breath that there were minors on her page, and she was recommending them titles that, like, those are stuff you just don't recommend kids. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was very adult. They had themes in them that weren't necessarily for kids. They were there, even though there was one title that she recommended, he's a popular bara artist. His the title that she recommended wasn't not suitable for work, but the artist himself is like a long extensive history of very disturbing body horror, very torture porny like stuff. It was something I was just like, bruh, you're literally have like 16-year-olds, people with the actual 14 in their bio, talking to you, looking up to you, and you're recommending them all this like porn. Like, this does not only look good for you, but it makes people in the community who are into yaoi BL who aren't as extreme as you make us look like we're crazy. So that's a lot of the where the yaoi stuff was coming from. It was, as far as I know, any like in-depth stuff like she said behind the scenes, I'm not really sure, because again, I don't really know her. But as far as what I was seeing on her YouTube, her community tab, and what she was posting on Twitter when I was trying to like call her out for the stuff she was already doing, that was what I was seeing, and that was some of the stuff I screenshot as well as a few of my friends when we saw some of that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that gives a little bit more in depth because we uh, we uh, we were reading into your video. We're watching and doing some
hmm
analysis like of all the points I brought up because no one else had been
hmm
mentioning anything about the yaoi situation.
hmm
We've literally gone through so many damn videos. I've kind of lost count by this point.
Yeah,
Like
there's so many
we started
videos on that.
with Jar's video and Luke's video, and then it was kind of a
Mhm.
blur after that. We've been writing down so much shit. It's just like, where do we go from here? It's like I'm drunk
It,
constantly.
it's a hell game of telephone, and
Yeah,
it's
it
like
is.
trying to track who called who.
Mhm.
Um, Another question.
Mhm.
We have some more directed questions towards like the yaoi drama, but we also have like very general questions that we're just asking everyone to get like their side of the story, their understanding of the drama.
Yeah.
Another question is like, would you be willing to like share your script and research that you use for your video? I understand if you don't want to. This
Yeah.
is a bit of a standard question. Some people are like, don't want to, don't like to.
We
But if you
mainly
could, we would very appreciate it.
Yeah, we mainly do this to see if your research and or like points generally have like a steady structure to it. It's just to see like where their thought process is going and whatnot.
So do you want the actual script I use, or do you want like the Google Doc file that I have all the evidence
Whichever
for?
works.
Oh,
Okay.
we have the Google. I think it was a Google Drive that you had all the
Yeah.
screenshots in. We have access to that already.
Okay.
But we would appreciate if you could give us a copy of the script. Doesn't have to be the original. Don't want to mess around with your files.
Oh no,
But if
no,
you
you're
could have
good.
a copy,
Yeah, I can do that right now. I can actually do that right now. Yeah.
that
Let me
would
make sure I
be
saved it.
amazing. Thank you so much.
Well,
Yeah,
let me
because
make
we
sure I
just
saved it. I don't remember. What were we gonna say?
we just want to like to double check on people's scripts because it gives us a bit into the thought process, lets us know how much research they went into it, because there were some accusations towards certain people that they didn't plan out their videos when they did or they didn't, and we're just following up on those with other people, and we just want to have that as a clear standard across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand that. A lot of the stuff, full disclosure, a lot of the stuff that I've typed in was literally me just documenting the process, because from the Ben the Looney drama all the way up to what is going on with Kai and Omnia, now, as far as what was in my video, I was living that all in real time. And what was given to me as part of the evidence from the Google Doc file was also what shaped a lot of what I was saying. So a lot of that stuff was actually going on in real time, and I was responding to it on Twitter as well as in Discord, YouTube, when Toby did her community posts and different things. So a lot of that was like in real time. They weren't really just accusations made, what I thought, what I think. It was what I was seeing actually with my own eyes. But
Yeah.
here is the doc file. Let me make it a shareable. Yeah, I'm just making sure.
Totally understandable. A lot of the stuff that was going on with other people's videos were also in real time. And some people were more reactionary.
Reactionary, yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse my wording. I am a mess
Oh,
today.
you're
Listen,
fine.
you're like
Thank you.
going off of like several cans of caffeine right now. Okay, I get it.
Oh Lord.
'Cause I'm doing the same thing here.
Yeah, there's caffeine in my system, and that is not a lie. Okay, but thank you so much for sharing that, because it's been a bit of a struggle trying to.
We've
get
literally
all
been like
people's-
sorting through most of these like this shit for the past 2 weeks now, Phantom?
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yep. We've actually done more research on this before this, but this is the first time we're going into it completely with this mindset of going on an overview, neutral, and taking in everything that's happened so far, not just if you want to explain that situation, if you wanted to, if you don't.
So wait, so which one are you referring to?
The previous video when we when
Oh
first
yeah. So originally I was going to do a collaboration. This is just between you guys and everything.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. I'm going to be mentioning this in the video anyways, considering the fact
Yeah.
that like we're going to be mentioning that anyways. So originally, I was going to be doing a collaboration with a friend of mine. Remember the bit where Omnia mentioned like, and for Mad Libs and whoever else is going to be working with the video, just don't do it. I was originally going to be that collab partner. We were writing out a bunch of this stuff in real time. I assumed, because Phantom was working on the script with me, I assumed that most of the stuff was given to me. The stuff that was given to me was also given to Phantom Art so she could get context to it. I think the first red flag I got was that Libby didn't want to watch the video together with Phantom, because we watched it first to get a general idea, watched it a second time to get a better idea of what to talk about, and then write stuff down for notes. The third time we would go over our points and then see if we made any mistakes. We skipped the third part because Libby wanted to get it done and over with. I was like, all right, I mean, I'll get Phantom later on to look over anyway, so it's whatever. This script was like almost 30 pages long, by the way, so we put a lot of hours into it. Suddenly, Libby walked out on the project. I'm sorry if I'm going a little too deep into this, Phantom.
Yeah, no problem. I was just gonna say that my job as the editor, I do quality check and proofreading check. So I check the script for basic grammar stuff, rewords, vocabulary that might be used wrong, just stuff that makes the script sound nicer. And then I do an in-depth check, which is going into the research and the evidence and making sure whatever Junkie is going off of has the citations, makes sense, that the video has a cohesive argument. Because most of the time it's analysis onto another person's commentary, on another person's channel, their conduct, etc. So I'm quality check. I'm quality control.
So
And
like
in that video,
yeah.
shit.
So
just
what
went
ends
to
up
shit.
happening is that during because we I don't think Fandomar was that aware of this at all. I was kind of aware of the subtweets. Personally, I was just like, oh, maybe just like a few. No, apparently I did not know much about it. Apparently she went even more like subtweety during the whole situation with Ami and Kai. Just kind of both sides kind of fanned the flames, but like Libby was the one that started it, and over time it was just like, yeah, this is not necessary. Fucking Fandom was not even aware of it. I was like, what?
I'm told that evidence existed, and when I went to go check said evidence,
she was not provided.
Access.
So
and then I had to talk to Junk, and then Junk didn't have it.
Yeah, so when Libby finally walked out on it, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna grab everything that she had and just show it to Phantom. She saw so many cracks in the script that she was like, we gotta cancel this, we can't do this. And I was frustrated, but at the end of the day, I was like, no, you're right, this is just gonna make it worse. Because like, that's kind of why I've gotten Phantom Art involved in this project too, because like she's like basically the second head of the whole conversation to make sure that I know what I'm talking about.
But yeah, back onto the interview process. That's just our.
I'm about to cut the whole segment out. Great.
I got the context I need.
yeah. Because we've had a lot of people like, why the hell are you talking to us? Aren't you friends with that person?
No, I mean, I'm one to believe that really the only reason I even made the video was because they really went in on Omnia and Kai and the whole Toby and her friends, who the whole clique, what Fruitcake clique is what they're called themselves before they disbanded. Like that whole faction are just, they're so tight knit and they're wrong. Like they went after Omnia and Kai, and like while a lot of people who were kind of like, oh, this is kind of stupid drama, weren't seeing the stuff, they were like, oh, not much is going on the outside. They're getting all this support. A lot of stuff behind the scenes was going on where I was in circles with people and they were saying, oh, you know, Omnia and Kai are making these allegations, and they weren't even looking at the big picture. Like they were just seeing the little beef and how Toby and her friends were hyping things up. I even talked to a few people like Harsh Opinions personally, and apparently Toby was using her to gain leverage without Harsh Opinions consent. So there was also miscommunications there too. And like Harsh Opinions couldn't really be in the position to say, hey, don't use my video to promote yourself. This isn't a promotion video for you. And a lot of people assumed that because Toby constantly kept promoting her video as this, like, this is a defense for me. And like, as somebody who has gotten on Toby's bad side before this drama happened, like where she didn't like me and she couldn't go after me the same way she would go after a small like creator and try to like quote unquote destroy them, but she still has this way of like, she'll try to destroy you. She'll set out to destroy you if you go against her, if you cross her in the slightest way. Like I understood why Harsh Opinions couldn't really say anything. So it's like all these different sides coming out. The miscommunication is so jumbled. And then we have smaller people who either they're trying to get clout or they just want to tell the story thinking that they're helping, are kind of misjumbling everything. And it's like, this was a simple case of calling Toby out for the things that she did, and then friends got involved on one side making accusations that weren't true, and then they had to end up redacting traits, and then I had to make my video to give the full context that it didn't just start with Omnia and Kai. This was something that had been going on with Toby and several creators for a long time, and I just wanted it to be out there. Like I didn't even care if it got clout. I didn't even try to monetize it or nothing. I was just like, look, if it get clout, it get clout. Like if it needs to be said, it needs to be said. I just want it to be out there.
I mean, it got out there, all right.
Prison Mate Wolf was like, we're here.
So would you say that you got involved with the entire situation mainly because you wanted to give more of that context that everybody was thinking, oh, this drama started with Omnia and Kai, but in reality, it was budding before that. It started with Toby's concerning behaviors with the yaoi community, then going on to Becca Looney, and then going on this whole, amoral tirade against everyone, and you want to give more context.
Originally, I got involved when she did her video. Like, I didn't really get involved. Like, I saw her on my radar when she did the Creep Show art video,
Hmm.
which she's since taken down. I agreed with her video, but then there was parts of it where there was a whole thing with the creator Aggie, and at the time, from the information that I knew about the artist, I was like, like that's not okay. And then she was going off at the same time defending Shane Dawson and that video that Kai actually, I got the video from Kai where she went on that 5 minute tirade about um supporting Gabby Hanna, PewDiePie, Shane Dawson, and all of that. That she didn't care about their past, she didn't care about what they did. They were her favorite creators, but here she was doing the same thing with other people because she got the popularity. And then there was the Yaoi stuff that was piling on, and I was getting actual mentions in my Instagram messages and things like that asking me if I was friends with her, because apparently when they would watch my videos about Yaoi, it would connect to her videos for do this algorithm or something. So people thought that we were like friends, and I was like, who is this person? Like, I don't know her. So I started watching her videos, and that's when I kind of gotten into that. But what really got me involved as far as like calling her out and being in a part of the situation was when she went after, full disclosure, I'm pretty good friends with Ben the Looney. When she and the Fruit Cake Click, Toasty Vanilla, and all of those people started going after Ben the Looney over something that essentially could have just been left private, and they could have just went their separate ways and not liked each other. But it was
Mhm.
literally them trying to Twitter drag somebody who was a friend of mine. He came to me personally asking for help because he was literally on the brink of a nervous breakdown at this point, because they were going after him when he couldn't defend himself because he was at work. And I was like, all right, so what's going on? I'm finding out information, and literally it was cracking at the seams as I was talking to them. Like, they couldn't keep up with their own stances, and I was just like, why? And then like Toby didn't even get into the drama until 3 days after. That was why I was confused. I was like, the whole stuff was pretty much dying down with the initial people who were going after Ben Looney. And then I come to find out Toby inserts herself in 3 days later when we had pretty much squashed everything. Like, everybody either agreed to
Just
disagree.
fanning the flames, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, and she comes out with Ben Looney's a pedophile, linking his page to her minor fans, and it's like, why? And then she goes on her community tab and she screenshot. It was very funny the way she would address me, because she wouldn't directly at me. She never directly at me. She directly added a few friends of mine, and she directly added people she thought was insignificant. But I feel like to a degree she was kind of afraid to go in fully on me, because she would screenshot things from what I've said, but she would never at me. She would never send anyone to my page, but she would people to other people's pages who I knew. And like, she screenshot a picture of me just saying, "Hey, stop going after artists when you literally do the same thing." And she tried to accuse me of being a map on her community tab, which she since had deleted. And I was like, yeah, that's slanderous. Don't do that. And then when it started getting heat, her own fans started catching the heat on her. That's when she decided to take it down, along with when she blackmailed Trent, One Off Showman.
Mhm.
And she ended up having to take down that community tab when I exposed her under that section. But she just was wild, and like, she was literally just fanning the flames after it was already squashed. Like, we were already done, everybody went their separate ways, and then she just comes out with Ben the Looney's the pedophile. Oh, by the way, guys, here's all this explicit yaoi that I used to read. Go have fun, kids. Like, just, what is going on? Like, she was just wild. And at the same time, apparently she was talking to Omnia, and she was kind of talking to other artists who were in her DMs at the time, and she just hadn't responded. And she was just kind of, talking to them, trying to do damage control, because this was happening while all of that other stuff with the Shane Dawson and the controversy she was kind of building up in was going on. I later found out.
Gotcha. Yeah, that gives a lot more context, because we did see like a lot of the stuff that Toby had been like called out for. It was mostly um it wasn't exactly personal, but she made things personal. That
Yep.
was what we were getting perspectives on. That
Mhm.
even with the Kai and Omnia situation, she only knew Omnia for like maybe literally a 2-second conversation, like maybe an hour and a half at most.
Mhm.
But whenever there was a reference to the DMs in any other person's videos, everyone always referred to it in somewhat of like a friendly context. But being amicable isn't exactly on terms of being, friends.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and they were treating it as if Omnia had betrayed her, as if there was some type of deep trust already formed. Um, So that
Yeah.
was one of our big concerns when addressing the videos, such as like how Toby seemed to escalate some matters, and we want to take that into
Yeah.
put it in that context with our overview.
Yes.
Speaking of the child porn arguments and
Mhm.
accusations,
Mhm.
you mentioned in your video that there was a 2011 case regarding hentai being seized, and the evidence was thrown out of court because, it was invalid. It was exclusionary because
Mhm.
that type of stuff is a very gray legal area. Could you divulge more into the legality of lolly/shota porn?
Yeah, sure. So as regards to lolly and shota porn, I've even talked about this with a few family attorneys as well. And if I can find it, I still have the screenshots from some of the people asking about it on
That would be
legal
amazing.
sites. But what essentially it was is the Protect Act was one of those things that it was a law that was there around like the 1990s. And as every single time, if you look at any history with that Protect Act being used, it was always with as a quote unquote accessory charge with somebody who was already distributing actual child porn, like actual images of children being abused, or they had already been there was a case, I believe it was in 2008 or 2009, where there was a man who was already in prison for raping or molesting a child, and he was drawing the actual depiction of the victim in his jail cell. People saw it, the guards saw it, and then they said, all right, we're gonna have to add this on as a charge. So they brought him back to court and said, look, you're doing this, this is actual CSEM material. So dude, we're adding on to the charge. So he ended up getting added onto the charge. Anytime it has been used, it is an accessory to use as far as an obscenity. It's like an obscenity surcharge to add on to what is already actual depiction of real children in the context of like just terabytes, whatever be in a flash drive or whatever, however they've been dealing it. But also around 2010, a year before that case that I talked about, there was actually a ruling that states can technically decide what it is, but it was deemed as an unconstitutional law, which is why the law is still there, but it's not enforced because it literally goes against the First Amendment, right? And that is why the final case that it was ever talked about in 2011, where it was strictly lolly art, which lolly art in and of itself is a gray area all the more. Lolly art in specifically can refer to characters who look extremely young. Sorry if I'm kind of jumping off tangents on
No
different things here.
problem. That was actually kind of the point of that question of the
Okay.
legality of lolly and shota art, because that's that entire conversation right now on.
Mhm.
There's like that difference definition. It's a gray area because there is
Mhm.
child porn, which is the exploitation of children to make
Mhm.
pornographic material, which is illegal. It is a
Mhm.
federal offense.
Mhm.
Versus artistic, explicit or like explicit images of drawn children, which,
Mhm.
while not the most moral topic, has
Oh,
no
definitely.
legal issue because it has no um, factual basis upon people. If you draw like factual porn of real
Mhm.
life people, that is a criminal offense,
Mhm.
because that
Yes.
is real life implications of a real life child.
Mhm.
However, if it is a drawn fictitious character, it's a legal gray area, like you said, on a state by state basis, because once again,
Mhm.
it doesn't, in that weird context that a lot of people, this is the main argument, it
Mhm.
doesn't hurt anyone
Yeah,
because
no.
it's not a real person, it's not a real
Mhm.
child,
Mhm.
and it is mostly a morality law. Those are laws such as with prostitution, gambling, drinking. They're not so much illegal offenses, but they just do not please the moral standards of the current society.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
even within the context of actual lolly and shota as a genre within the Japanese anime manga community as well as its actual tropes, there are several subsections, which I could even send you a link on it if you want it. It's nothing explicit or anything. It just breaks down different ones. There are characters who are literally just characters, for example, like if you've watched My Hero Academia, a character named La Brava. She's literally the actual stereotype for a lolly. She is extremely short. She's like 3'4" or something like that. She's three
Hmm.
foot four. She has breasts like a woman would, but she looks like a child. Like she literally, in comparison to Sir Gentle, she looks like an actual child, but she's 22 years old. Same thing could be said for characters like Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece. There are certain times when he literally looks like a Shota. He looks like extremely younger than he is. And there are a lot of people who categorize those characters as it. And it's one of those things where it's literally just an artistic gray area. Like it's the characters that look similar to chibi-esque forms, which I don't know if you're familiar with the term chibi, where it's literally
Yes.
they just look kind of like dwarves. It's just a cutesy style. And unless they've personally disclosed the age of the character, then you can't really say, oh, this is CP, this is child porn, etc., etc. It's the same thing with, like, for example, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Jotaro is an underage character in part 3. He's 17, but he looks like he's 45. So it's like the whole moral gray area when it comes to drawings. It's like you can definitely hate those drawings. Like you can think that they're cringe, they're disgusting, just like the same way people tried to argue against violent video games in the 90s. Like they're vile, they're abhorrent as far as like morally due to your moral standard, but to say that they are criminally permissible, at least in the United States or Japan, they are criminally admissible to use as to claim someone as a pedophile or to claim someone wants to murder someone, etc., etc. I don't personally believe that at all, because I know several people who draw these things, draw a lot of guro, gore, lolly shota stuff, and they are living healthy, normal lives as far as I'm concerned. They're living normal lives. It's just the art that they draw. They like to experiment. They like to expand their horizons, things like that. They have no interest in actual children whatsoever, or children in general. It's just an artistic style choice.
Yeah. Just for a bit of background, I'm actually a criminology student, so I
Mhm.
do have some basis in criminal law.
Ooh.
And what I do know about like the legality of with blah, 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 blah. Sorry, brain is not working.
No, you're fine.
It's
You're
like-
fine. You're fine.
The evidence as you're referring to, when they do bring up, like, if a person has like hentai porn in their possession, that's considered character evidence. It's not exact evidence. This is also called hearsay evidence because it's circumstantial evidence. It's not direct evidence leading to this person committed a crime. This is evidence directed to defaming their character to show that they are capable of this crime, which is a factor in determining culpability if they were capable of doing this crime by saying and setting the standard that, hey, this person was looking at blah, blah, blah porn, therefore they could have committed this crime, but it is not direct evidence to that they did commit the crime. Yeah, so on that, yeah, very, but yeah, that's not, I can't name a case off of my head. There could be, but there's no case that I can see that character evidence was the direct cause of a guilty or non-guilty sentence. Usually it was used in sentencing after the verdict in determining the culpability of that offender. But like with what you said, it cannot be used to correlate or cause or accuse someone of being a pedophile. The legal definition of a pedophile is someone who has sexually assaulted a child or have molested a child. Those are what is classified as child sex offenders, and those of sexual offenses always have some sort of physical contact or sexual harassment. Notably, those are all directed as real children. There must be a victim involved in this crime. And that's the legality that I understand from it, to give a bit more context on my part. But yeah, we wanted to get that clear because there are so many people in this drama who have been talking about the legality of child porn, of the legality of whatever Toby was drawing, whatever was Ben was drawing when Ben was mentioned. And we just wanted to get that set standard that yes and no, it is a legal gray area because yes, actual child porn is illegal. But what Toby is accusing Ben of drawing is not child porn. Is it explicit images? Yes, but it's not illegal. Though there are certain, like we said, state-by-state interferences of which what can be censored. It's a set
Obscenity
standard.
laws usually, right?
Yes.
Obscenity laws.
Yeah, obscenity laws and censorship laws regarding content. It's a big standard in the gaming industry. There sexual content of minors, even if they are fictitious, is a standard that is usually banned on various company policies. That's less so of a legality issue, but more company policies, such as with Twitch not preferring not to stream certain sets of games. A big controversy with that, I think, was Yandere Simulator. That was a big controversy that came up with that, and some other Japanese Aero games. Um,
Mhm.
Another point that we wanted to bring up with regards to the Toby situation was, could you give us a clear definition as someone who is active in the yaoi community, what the difference is between shonen ai and yaoi? Because
Yeah, sure.
apparently
Um,
Toby has been generalizing this to everything that's yaoi.
of course, the
Oh, is she
West.
ever?
The dreaded Westerners and their generalizations. Haha. But so basically, yaoi actually is a pretty outdated term, at least in the Japanese sense. For BL, essentially, it's all just called BL. But yaoi is usually referred to the more explicit terminology for the BL or gay media. So like stories that she was recommending on her page, more than half of them were actually like yaoi. So like the actual equivalent to actual like gay porn type B, where you see the penises, you see even if they're censored, you see the sex scene, like the physical sex scenes, and they're basically the majority of the story. They're basically just smut, one shot smuts, or even a full volume of it. Shonen ai essentially is just romantic, more romance focused. They're the equivalent of shoujo manga. I'm not sure if you know what shoujo manga
Yes.
is. They're more focused on the relationships. A popular example of this would be like Gravitation. Gravitation is one of the most popular shonen ai manga that was ever to come out from the Japanese as well as the Western audiences. Basically just highlighting stories of relationships. There may be like one to two maybe sex scenes in it, but most of the time the sex scenes are heavily censored. They're either heavily censored or just heavily implied that it happened, and then they move on from it, or the fallout from it happens as it being a more emotional impact. But most of the time yaoi is just like the just, oh wow, look at this nice gay porn type beat just drawn.
Gotcha. So, like, to provide a comparison to more Western generalizations, like rom-com versus porn.
Yeah, like rom-com versus like erotica, yeah.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Another question that we had was that, what would you define the sexual artwork that Toby drew as?
Like her Todoroki drawing and things like
Yeah,
that.
her Todoroki drawing and her Usagi drawing.
So actually, her Todoroki drawing, I personally don't have an issue with. I feel like her Todoroki drawing was more implied. A lot of fans will do this in fandom communities that are in context to canon. She basically, I know she used BDSM as a tag, so she was intending to make it a implied lewd drawing. I believe it would fall under more of the yaoi tag based on how big of a yaoi fan she was and how she's been very unapologetic about how she's into the more explicit works.
Mm-hmm.
No question about the Sailor Moon drawing. That's definitely just straight up hentai. Like she just hides behind a paywall. Like that's all it is. I don't really have a problem with the Sailor Moon drawing either. For one, Sailor Moon is actually, they canonically have like years, birthdays, and months as to what they are. I think they're like in their 30s if you were like to look back now. When I used to be really into Sailor Moon, they just live in a continuous time loop due to their powers as Sailor Scouts. But she essentially, their explicit image, they're at least the what is it? Sailor Moon drawing is an explicit image, like it's straight up hentai. But the Todoroki art, I feel like it's more of a it's a form of drawings that are in the yaoi community called like angsty BL, where it's goes tackles more of the abusive tropes. It could mean anything. That's the thing. Like with her artwork, it's so like what was the word you would use for it? Not
Explicit.
gray. Not even explicit. Gray, like the area there is like gray. It's open to interpretation.
It can
type
imply
thing. So
anything, is what you mean.
yeah, there you go. It could imply anything. Like it could imply that if you read the, even though she claims she hasn't read My Hero Academia, if you read the story knowing Todoroki's past and what he's dealt with, that could be something where he could, BDSM could be a way for him to be a part of have to have quote unquote normal sex or whatnot. I actually know people who have this as part of their sex life and things like that. Not to get too personal, but like where literally BDSM is the only healthy way for them to have sexual experiences. And that's just the implication, because she is a part of that in her sex work too. She really likes BDSM as far as her sex work as well. She dabbles in that sort of play. It could either just be straight up just, I just want to draw BDSM work of Todoroki, and that be it. But the fact that she's kind of like deflecting from it when they're clear intentions that, yeah, this is a BDSM yaoi work, just accept it. Like either have it be drawn and take off your stances about everybody else, or disavow what you used to do in the past. Like, it's not that hard. Like, if you really hate it.
So the main point with Toby's artwork was that a lot of people found it very hypocritical that, she claimed that blah 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 means you're a pedophile when she also drew sexualized content of
Yep.
minors.
Yep.
Would you agree with that statement?
112%. Yes, that's hypocritical.
Gotcha. And going back on Toby again, you mentioned that she was kicked out of the yaoi community. Was this just because of her conduct, or was it because she was like fetishizing things more? Could you like give more to that?
So most of the reason why she was already kind of on the red list with pro ship people. I don't know if you're familiar with the pro ship community. They're basically people who are fine with quote unquote problematic content, whether it be Shota, Lolly, non-con, yaoi, yuri, whatever it be, stuff that's generally seen as like freaky fetish porn within the existence of drawings and fiction. They're fine with fictional works that may toe the line, cause some gray area, cause quite a stir. But she, because of her video that she did where she basically kind of supported creep show arts going after of the artist Aggie, aka Strawberry Milk, she was already on the radar. Like, people were like, like, you're kind of sus for that. Especially considering your past, because the yaoi people already knew her past. Like, it was pretty common knowledge of her art and things like that. So they were like, and you're in the yaoi community? Like, I even brought that up to her. I was like, how are you saying that Aggies are, at the time when I was supporting Aggie, it's a little bit more gray for me now, seeing some more evidence come out about Aggie's stuff, but at the time I was just like, you literally like a genre of anime that people consider to be quote unquote fetishizing of gay men. They consider us to be like rotten women, horrible women, like vile people, but you're out here saying that another artist's work that literally could be applied to things that you draw are wrong. And it's like, I don't understand that. And her art, and literally her statement to me at the time was like, it's because these are two consenting adults, but your drawings of a minor. Like, it was so weird. She didn't have an answer when it came to her own stuff. It was just like, the concept is this, but what are you specifically doing? But other than that, she was just already on the radar because she already had like what they consider anti views. And then when she started, people found out that she was going around making yaoi fans look like buffoons, when we generally like to have a dialogue with people. We like to talk to them, see why they feel the way they feel, come to a conclusion, whether it be an agree to disagree, or kind of get their perspective as well as them kind of understanding our perspective.
Communication is key.
Yes, communication is key. She wasn't doing that. She was saying, oh, fuck off, you're just sensitive, blah, 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 blah. Like, she didn't even want to try and have a dialogue about it, or at least address it. And it was just making us look bad. And she's like a high profile YouTube, well, not even really high profile, but like, she was coming up as like a pretty popular YouTuber in the community. And it's like, this is not how you conduct yourself, especially if most of your fans, you claim yourself, are unimpressionable children. Like, so people were like, we're just gonna back her off.
So basically, because of how much she was misrepresenting the community, she was just ostracized from the community because, she wasn't being part of the community except misrepresenting it.
Yep.
Gotcha. Just a couple more questions. I know this is like a long list.
Oh no, you're fine. I have nothing to do, so just drawing.
We appreciate your time so much.
We've been going through so many interviews, it's not even funny anymore. Like,
oh no.
I've just counted, we got through like 10 that are completely done. We have like 4 more to do, or way 4.
Yeah, I have been delegated for any further interviews that we have to do. Those are my responsibility. So we already have like your opinions down on Toby, that she's hypercritical, very impulsive, very misrepresentational, uninformed, etc. We can go on for Toby for hours. But what are your thoughts about Kai and Omnia?
Personally, I have nothing but good experiences with Kai and Omnia. I wouldn't consider us like friends, but I've had pretty decent talks with her. Like the way Omnia described when she had her conversation with Toby. Omnia actually reached out to me
Mhm.
She when I posted about my when she did her community post lying about the Trent situation when she tried to blackmail him, Omnia actually replied under my comment asking if I could DM her, and I went ahead and got in contact because I was already kind of watching Omnia's videos because it kept showing up on my feed. So I contacted her based on what she asked me to DM her, and I DM'd her on Twitter, and we basically had a whole discussion. Now
Gotcha.
full disclosure, as far as her DMs with Toby, because that was a conversation that did end up coming up because she wanted to get more information about the situation because she saw I was one of the very vocal people going against her. She showed me some of the DMs, but as far as that it stayed within the DMs. I didn't leak the DMs to anybody. I made sure because she asked me personally not to, but I wasn't gonna do it anyway because I do have a certain semblance when it comes to DMs. Unless it has to go there, I try not to leak anybody's DMs as far as that goes. But she told me the DMs of what Toby had said to her as far as like the conversation like everybody else got in her video. And she told me how odd she felt it was that she was just pouring her heart out to her when she barely knew her for 2 seconds. And I was like, yeah, but you seem very cordial about it. And she was like, yeah, she was like, but it was very odd to her that she was trying to claim she was very um supportive of BLM, black people, and Omnia is mixed, I believe. She's biracial, and Kai
Yeah, I
is
think so.
black. But I'm like, these two black creators who you've had kind of interactions with. Kai made the video on her first. He was actually the reason why I was able to get the video on her 5-minute rant because I actually DM'd him after I saw his video, and he had a massive amount of dislikes before the video got popular about her rant because a lot of people, like I said, she was popular. So,
Yep.
people didn't really take what he said seriously, but he just made the video out of I'm just calling her out. He had no real clout, no real followers. He was just like, I just feel like this is wrong and you should change it. But he gave me the video to her 5-minute rant so I could use for my Google Doc. And he was like very cordial, very nice. We've talked periodically when it came to his final straw video on the situation with Just a Robot. And we've just talked back and forth. No real personal stuff, but they're pretty good people, and their content outside of any of this drama is actually very good too. So I like to gas up good creators.
Mhm.
And I felt
Gotcha.
like the way Toby and her friends treated them, like regardless if I would have known them or liked them or had any interaction with them, seeing them as they're just stating their opinion that they weren't wrong to begin with, being mercilessly attacked by people who I know for a fact have done wrong and are just as guilty with some of the stuff that they've done behind the scenes, and they think nobody knows about it. It's like, come on now. Like, really? So I was just very frustrated with that, and that was part of the reason why I went ahead and made the video, because I initially wasn't, because the whole Trent drama had pretty much stopped. She kind of dipped away, and that was the main reason why I was going to go public, because it's like, now you're actually attempting to do potentially criminal things at this point. You're
Slander.
you're trying to blackmail, yeah, slander and blackmail in exchange for slander,
Yep.
type beat, when the person had nothing to do with the situation whatsoever. He wanted to be as far removed from the situation. I even told him, hey, if you feel comfortable, block me too, like if you want it, just to stay out of the situation, because he was that adamant he didn't want to be involved in the situation that she was brewing up. And then she
Yep.
goes and follows him, stalks his page on her business account, ironically enough, and then she didn't think anything was going to happen with that. It's like, all right.
Yeah. Thank you so much on that information. Just a couple more questions.
No
So
problem.
we have everything clear about Toby, clear about Kai and Omnia. Did you have any other thoughts about the other people who got involved in the mainstream drama? Like Jar, Manga, Luke, Nezzy, Madlibs, Hopeless Peaches, Harsh, Fuchsia Butters, Jess.
So in regards to Jar, I actually talked to him in his server. I'm in his server.
Oh,
And
you
he
poor
was in a
bastard.
voice. Well, so he was actually
I'm joking. I'm
very
joking. I'm joking.
I mean, there were some things that happened to stay in voice chat, but he when he talked to me, he actually had never watched my video. So when I saw his video, because a friend of mine who had made a video on this situation had DM'd me his video, and they were like, "Hey, he made this video. It's all wrong." And I was like, "Yeah, it's all wrong." So I decided to go in there join because the server was public. So I went into a server, went into the VC. He happened to be VCing with some other people, and Harsh Opinions was in there too. And Harsh Opinions, basically, that was when I got her side of like what happened between her and Kai, as far as the miscommunications that went about and how people believed that she was on Toby's side because of how Toby manipulated the fact that she made a video that wasn't 100% for Kai and just basically said, hey guys, this video is kind of a support of me. Kind of had people going in on that, and then it caused a miscommunicational rift because Harsh Opinions
Jar.
wasn't in no, Harsh Opinions wasn't in the position to really say anything because she wanted to say something, but she was kind of scared. So I understood where she was coming from with that. But when I talked to Jar, he basically was kind of dismissive, but at the same time, I was like, you should definitely watch my video because it gives the full context as to why people are going in on Toby so hard. It's not just petty YouTuber drama, the he said, she said. It's actually like Toby has a history of doing these things. And he said he was going to watch the video and he was going to make a part 2 on it. So I was I was like, all right, I hope you watch it. I linked it to him, so if he doesn't watch it at this point, it's like, you chose not to. So
Yeah, we're that way.
Well, we tried.
I tried. So if you make another video about it and it's bad, I was like, I gave you my resources. And Fuchsia Butter specifically, I don't she it was so strange as to why she's involved in this because she has no dog in this fight, really. And also if she continues to stretch herself out the way she is doing right now, it's going to get worse for her because apparently she was one of the main people also when I was calling Toby out for the Ben situation. She was in the DMs, not in the DMs, in the tweets and the replies saying, she was literally admitting that she could not put Ben in jail for the drawings that he has made, but she feels the need to call him out. She actually made, I don't know if anybody knows this, but she actually made a full-on video about Ben the Looney trying to criticize him. And the minute it dropped, somebody was in my DMs on Twitter sending me a video that they had privated and made about her and her server. And it's in my Google Doc as well, or the Google Drive, where
Gotcha.
she basically had minor server admins who were actively moderating and just cool with her having lolly content in her server, which I mean, it's fine, not really, because it kind of goes against terms of service and you can actually get your server nuked for it. But she was like fine with it. And also there was a situation where there was a user in there who was a favorite of Fuchsia Butter. She I believe they gave a certain amount of money to them and their Patreon and things like that. So they were like a favorite and they were IP doxing people in the server, and she was doing nothing about it. So it took to this person having to make a video about all this stuff where stuff like that is going on, but you have the time to micromanage what Ben was doing after you all had excommunicated him anyway, and then he decided to do his own thing on his own, like be his own person. Like I was strange. It was very strange to me why the whole clique was going after Ben because they had excommunicated him from their private server. Like he was done and he didn't go after them. He didn't say like, shade them in any sort of way, like directly going after them. He didn't even mention it to me. I didn't even know it until he came to me about them trying to cancel him or whatever. So he just posted his art and was going about his day, but they decided to dig through the files and go after him. So I was like, why are you guys going after him when you have your own stuff in your own server, not even like 6 months ago, that you were dealing with that was literally could be equated to that same type of thing? Plus, you're involving minors in this, as well as Mad Libs, and I forgot her name. She's the one on her Twitter. She had like one of those Agretsuko profile pictures. I can't remember. She was,
Nezzy Monster.
yes, Nessie Monster. She was a strange case too because she went after Ben with Toasty and Toby, and then she ended up retracting her claims. And I wish I could have gotten the screenshot from her. But when the first time she retracted her claims, she said, "I personally don't really like that type of art, but if you want to draw it, that's perfectly fine." And then she deleted it, and then she made up some excuse, which I've still yet to see any proof of this, where she claimed that pedophiles were in her mentions, and she had to end up deleting the post, even though the comments were still underneath the post, and I saw nothing that alluded to anybody who was close to pedophile or anything saying anything in her mentions. But I was gonna take her for it. like I said in the video. But it was very weird how they seem to be fine with certain things in regarding to actual kids being exposed to not suitable for work. But when it comes to a drawing, they hop on it and they're the internet activists and they're this is CP, this is child porn. And it's like, but you guys are fine with exposing like minors in your server to like lewd stuff and making sex jokes with them. Like, also Xena is another one I'm very concerned with
You mean
because
Miss ZZ?
Miss ZZ, yeah. She I've had very limited experiences with her, but in the few times that I did, I was in a server with her recently. It was like a small server, and there was this 15-year-old girl in the server in voice chat. They wanted us to play Among Us or something like that, and in the server, this 15-year-old girl was just talking about going to the bathroom, just pissing on herself and stuff like that. Like it was just graphic stuff, and I'm just in here like quiet, like freaking out. Like, why is this child talking about this? Like she's making it known that she's a kid, and then everybody, including Xena, who was in there, was just laughing. I wish I could have recorded. Then I felt like it would have been scummy, but like it was just like, why? Like she's on the fence. She's kind of supporting Toby, and when the whole Ben the Looney drama was going on as well, and when Trent was being blackmailed, she did nothing. Apparently she was supposed to be a friend of Trent, but she did nothing. She sat on the sidelines and she made passive aggressive tweets about it. And it's like, why are you in this if you don't want to be involved? Like she's one of those fence sitter people, as far as from my experiences with her.
Gotcha.
And the tweets are still up, pretty much where I called her out on that, and she was just like, "I don't know you," and I'm like, "Well, I mean, that doesn't stop what you're doing." And then she called Kai a simp. It wasn't clear. She tried to pass it off as a joke, and it's like, it's not a joke. Like apparently they're mad that Omni and Kai are friends. Like I don't understand that weird thing. It just seems like that they're just inserting themselves into the situation to defend Toby. I think they're afraid of Toby because Toby can go on really bad tirades, start screaming at people, disowning them and going berserk. Obviously because of some of the stuff that some of the mental instability that she has with BPD and things like that. But she also is just like that in general. From any friend of mine who I've talked to who happen to be mutuals with her and they've counted their experiences with her, she is just horrible to people who don't do what she says 100%. Like some of them have actually told me that they're kind of are afraid to like just like not be friends with her. They just kind of wean her off because of how just crazy and horrible she can be in regards to just cutting deep into people who don't do what she wants.
Yep, that's definitely understandable. Toxic friendship, especially like that, like the way we've seen Toby exhibit her behaviors with her friends. So for everybody who's been like very adamant on defending Toby, like you said, Nancy, Madlibs, Fuchsia Butters, they are direct friends of Toby, which we found very concerning because that was the only opposition. And everyone else who got involved in defending Toby were people who were defending people who were dragged in by Toby, such as like with Harsh Opinions. And Jar was mostly going in to defend Harsh. That was our understanding, which built a lot of this entire bias cobweb of just ugh.
Yes. And the Jesp thing, one thing about Jesp, she actually approached me personally about using my video for her video that she was gonna do. And she wanted me to even proofread her like her script. And she actually ended up she ended up kind of complicating her video with including some 16-year-old dude named Akumu, who apparently has like a huge history in the community of just like
I'm aware.
he has a huge history of like recording people. I had this weird thing where like Jess was trying to give out my information to this dude, and I had to tell her don't do that. Like she wanted to use my video, but then later when she was writing it, she said her friends were pressuring her not to use my video, and I said that's fine if you don't want to use it, but it would literally cut out an extreme amount of context as to Toby's situation. So then she kind of shifted it into like toasty hit piece. But when I told her not to use an Akumu, I told her not to use Akumu as a source because that would literally discredit her because he's known throughout the community as a scumbag, a wannabe anime villain who is not a credible source. Like he essentially called.
No, you're not wrong. He pretty much is.
Like he's in Just a Robot server, and I don't think Just a Robot realizes he's in there. And like I just pray one day he doesn't come in a voice chat. I'm just gonna mute myself because that dude he records people like that. Like he's on ready when it comes to recording people. But he's just she didn't want to take down the video, but she also didn't want to credit him, so she used his video without linking or alluding to his page. But I was like, that's eventually gonna come up, and she was kind of that was where situation was kind of getting complicated in regards to the Toby Majestic situation, because people were trying to tie it into the Toasty Vanilla stuff.
Gotcha.
And even with my script, I do mention Toasty because he was the initial aggressor with the Ben the Looney
But it's
drama.
mainly the Discord server he had, and that's it.
Yeah, but at the same time, even then, like Toasty, I even said in my video, Toasty apologized to all of us. And as far as that whole situation, I don't really have anything to say with him. I don't know about the other stuff that he's been accused of because I don't really talk to him like that. But I was just like, you're mixing in different stuff when you could have just made a video for Toby and then made a video for Toasty. Like it was an hour long type thing, and she was kind of like
It made it too
saying stuff.
complicated.
Yeah, and then afterwards she was revealing information about people and saying things and alluding to things that she didn't really know was factual. So I had to kind of call her out on that in the DMs, of course. I didn't like publicly go in on her or anything. I just in the DMs like maybe you should kind of chill with that. And also it was kind of taking a toll on her mental health. So I was let's bring it down. You've done your job. Now let's let the others do their job. And she hopefully she's doing a little bit better now, but like she was kind of, I think she was kind of going in from the whole not clout, but the whole attention of it all because of how popular the topic was. But at this point, yeah, at this point I feel like Kai and Omnia just wanted to be over.
Yeah, that's we also looked into Spock's video, just that just came out.
Yeah, I just watched that one.
He also just did interviews with everybody, and yeah, everyone's just done with the situation. We're just going in, doing cleanup and analysis of everything that did go down, and addressing the faults that happened, and like giving more analysis into the full story, because Spockter did an overview and timeline of the drama, and we're going into the specifics of how everything got pulled in, how everything happened, etc., etc.
He and I have been chatting back and forth of what we're doing, because he actually helped me get in contact with Omnia, because at first they were unsure of like my implications behind my messages, because they were assuming oh he has a bias, and I wanted to make sure and tell him like no, I'm trying to keep an unbiased perspective because I have my editor here helping me out with that, and I think that helped them kind of calm down a bit, like okay, no, it's not gonna be the case, which I've made sure that I just want to hear their perspective before I draw any kind of conclusion.
I have just one more question, and just like a general thing that's like just asking if you have people that would get involved. But as a person of color, do you feel that this entire drama has escalated into like this racially stimulating issue when it originally was just about the hypocrisy of Toby?
I think partially about that is to be fully honest, part of the issue that even Kai had and even me had with her was her hypocrisy, and including with Black Lives Matter. There was this thing where she had BLM in her bio, not her bio, her username, or what do they call it? Twitter name, the tagline.
Twitter handle.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Twitter handle BLM was in there for a long time. But we found it very odd. One of the main criticisms with Omnia and Kai, at least their video on her, was that how are you claiming to support Black lives when you constantly, even to this day, constantly defend a man who literally used Black people as a pawn for blackface? They didn't just blackface. He was basically minstrel showing. I'm not somebody who gets really, when it comes to racial stuff, I've seen it so much when it comes to like me being as a Black person, seeing racial stuff happen. At this point, it's just like, they racist, moving on. But with Shane Dawson stuff, it's just kind of like another level of like, you that bold, really? And then he would use Black actors to do some of the most disgusting stuff, like in his movies, having them like eating actual feces and stuff like that. Like, it's like, why would you do that? Like, it feels like it's coming from a place of just like, you see Black people as less than you.
It comes from a place of malice.
Yes, malice. Yes, that's the word I was using. Thank you. Malice. Malice.
Most of the words have been kind of rubbing off of Phantom here, so there's that.
Yes. Linguistics.
The main reason why I'm asking this is because as we've seen the drama progress, we've seen that it was originally about Toby being a hypocrite, but then suddenly, mostly after Harsh's video, where she was very with the wording, just not wording things correctly, and the vagueness of a lot of statements were just led to a lot of controversy, especially the
Mhm.
can of worms statement. It's like, oh boy, that. Mm.
Which I did
So
get
What?
information behind that. She meant it in
Mhm.
in a sense that we're like, it wasn't towards Kai, it was more so towards herself because she felt she was not like educated on the topic. Which was like, all right, that makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what she told me when I talked to her in Jar Serve.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood where she was coming from. It's just, again, the internet, when it comes to doing a public thing, you gotta word your stuff, especially when it comes to sensitive topics like race, sexuality, gender, things like that, especially race in these times. Like, I kind of explained it to her when I was in Jar Server about, yeah, when it comes to racially charged things, especially in this climate with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, police brutality, and things like that, you gotta
Mm-hmm.
choose your words wisely. Like,
Yeah.
even if it, like, as a Black person, Kai and Omnia, or even biracial, Kai and Omnia can talk about these things, and it can be pretty well received because, you know, they are of color as far as everybody knows. She actually told me that she was Latina, but she is white passing Latina, so people, you know, kind of discredited her for being Latina, you know, because she doesn't look stereotypically Latina. She's not brown, she doesn't have, you know, the Afro Latina look and things like that. So she said it was a big dilemma for her to kind of understand as well, and she kind of felt like it was a sort of petty thing on the part of Kai with his response or whatever. But I was like, it's
Mm-hmm.
just it feels like it was just miscommunication, and then Toby promoting it did not help the situation.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
So
god.
I felt so bad for her when I realized that that's what Toby did. Like, she literally threw her under the bus and just left her out to the wolves so she can just get devoured, and being told every day that she's racist, she doesn't like Black people because of what she said in her video at the time, and it was literally just a misunderstanding. And at that point it's like, would it be, do I bother to even clear it up, because will people even believe me? Like, I felt so bad about that. But at the same time, literally Toby, I noticed on Twitter, Toby took that particular quote that they were talking about with the BLM stuff. She really didn't like that. She doesn't like being called racist. Even though it's very weird to me. Like, I even mentioned this to Omnia in DMs. It's like, it's very weird to me how she tries to identify with the Black, like,
Yeah.
she tries to really go in as like a Black Sona when it came to not showing her face. Like with the whole Todoroki picture, there was a black hand. That was one thing I was like, what is going on? Like, you have Black people drawn in a lot of your stuff, but you don't seem to want to support us. It seems like you're more for the aesthetic to be popular. Plus, when she supported Sakimi-chan, which I don't hold against her too much, because I also wasn't sure what was going on with Sakimi-chan. I thought she was anti-riots, but then when I saw what the tweets were, I was like, oh no, see, you're gonna have to step that back a little bit too much there. But she continued to support Sakimi-chan, saying that, oh, they're gonna hate you just because you spoke the truth. Like, she would like tweets like that. And I know liking tweets doesn't automatically endorse what you're saying, but when it's specific like that,
It's
and
still,
her
it's a little
specific,
sus.
yeah, it's
It's the internet implications of that.
yeah,
Like you're
yeah.
yeah. Like
I was
I
just,
mainly bring I'm sorry, continue.
no, you're fine. I was just like,
Yeah, I mainly bring up this point because as far as now I know, Junk, you're white.
Like, I am part French, German, Austrian. I am like the whitest man you'd ever white.
Ooh, Anglo-Saxon,
And
huh? Hmm.
I'm Asian dominant mix.
Ooh.
So from my perspective as like a person of color, I was like, I there's nothing I can speak to because I'm
Mhm.
Asian. There's nothing I can really like completely deliberately stay in the situation because it's not my voice in the
Mhm.
situation. I have
Mhm.
my own thing with Corona. That's my issue. Um,
Yeah.
but I mainly bring up this point because this feels as if the way that I was thinking describing is that like Toby's actions towards the Black community after watching your video, Kai and Omnia's videos was that she's kind of acting like those people in Get Out.
Yes. Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
those kind of people are just like where they're like trying to be a part of the crowd, like, how you do, fellow kids?
Yes. Steve
It felt
Buscemi.
like she
How
was
are you, fellow children?
the weird. It felt to me, from what I've been observing so far, that she's been like almost fetishizing every single community she has been in. Like with She has as you've been as been shown in your video, Omni and Kai's videos, she's been acting as a fake ally. There's been
Yeah.
debates on what exactly classifies as a fake ally because it was used in tandem with fake activists or performative activists.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been noted that despite Toby like claiming that she is an ally for BLM and for minority groups,
Mm-hmm.
she continuously supports Shane Dawson. She endorses these extremely controversial people and topics despite being an advocate, which doesn't line up with the entire perception of, being an advocate. You would think that an advocate stands for, hey, be accountable for your BS and not supporting people who are not taking that accountability and supporting people who basically ran their careers off of that racism and discrimination.
Mm-hmm. It's yeah, that's really all. Like I feel like it's not even like she's at the point where all she could do really is all she got to do is just say, "Hey, I fucked up. Like I'm not gonna
Yes.
do it anymore," and move on, and nobody would talk about it again. Like
I
it's
think
not like
that's.
people. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm sorry, I was interrupting you.
Oh, and I was just gonna say it's not like people are holding her down by her thumb and like holding them under her thumb. I mean, under their thumb. Okay, under their thumb. I can't speak.
It's just
Oh,
like,
Listen,
yeah.
after dealing with this for the past fucking 2 weeks now, I understand how you feel. It's like brain
yeah,
just wants to shut down and take a nap.
Yes.
you would need a full college textbook to go in depth about all of Toby's
Yes.
actions.
Bro, like that one picture where they have the tall book and they're just
Mm,
opening it up. That is what we need right now. A whole
yeah,
encyclopedia just like of
yeah,
this situation. But like, so it's not like people literally have her like under their thumb saying apologize, apologize. Like it's literally she could have been apologized on her own. Like the minute she made that 5-minute video about supporting Shane Dawson and like even people weren't even going in on her for supporting like other like I feel like the Gabby Hanna stuff would have been a little more extreme to support than the PewDiePie and the Shane Dawson at the time because of the whole there was the Me Too movement going on and then Gabby Hanna had actually like condoned and lied about friend who was being sexually assaulted by another friend who she
yep.
didn't like that was a huge thing. I was like I'm surprised nobody went on her for that one. Like that slipped through the cracks, but Shane Dawson was the main one and I understand why because she's BLM. She's openly for BLM, but she's not really actually
Yeah,
being for BLM. She's putting it. That's why I do have an issue with some people when they put particularly people who aren't black who put BLM in their tag. It's like, are you really for BLM or are you just doing it because everybody else is doing it? Like it makes you kind of feel kind of distrustful of people who do like openly internet activism and you don't want to be distrustful, but sometimes you got to be like, is it though? Because your actions don't match what you're putting on your profile.
Mm-hmm.
And she could have just been like, I'm sorry, I was really caught up in the moment. I had looked up to this creator. I didn't really see the signs. That was on me. Moved on. Could have been
yep.
done. She could have continued on with her career, with doing her videos, but no, she had to continuously argue, didn't even apologize. She said, "Okay, I don't support Shane Dawson anymore." A week later, is supporting him in her comment section. Like,
Yep.
come
Yeah,
on now.
that's a pattern we've been noticing a lot with Toby's behavior
Yeah.
as we go through videos at a time. Instead of like in every video that she says, she's addressing her criticism, she's responding to them. Instead of offering any sort of apology or understanding that she was in the wrong, she would say, "I'm here to clarify," or "my BPD," or
That's another
etc.,
thing I hate.
etc.
She uses mental illness to
Yes.
excuse some of the stuff she does. Like it would like I have really bad anxiety. Like I'll have anxiety attacks and things like that. If I used when I had an anxiety attack when I went off on X, Y, and Z, that's not an excuse. Like you have to learn. You are a grown woman. You have to know right from wrong. You got to take your L's when you need to. Like she's keeping this up and is just dragging it on more and more. And she's losing subscribers at an astronomical rate. I'm
Yeah.
just like, at this point, why are you even continuing? You could just make an apology video and be done. It's like when she was blatantly out here slandering and blackmailing somebody who she considered a friend at one point. And then she lies about it on another community. I noticed she went cross-platform. She didn't talk about it on her Twitter. She went on her YouTube because she thought nobody was going to be able to combat her. And then the minute I got the notification that she put that on her community tab, I called her out, and she didn't have much to say then. Then she deleted the community tab. And I was just like, she's not apologizing for, hey, maybe I shouldn't have done this on my business account and there wouldn't be issues. But instead, she shifts the blame on him, makes up a complete fake story saying that Trent literally went out of his way to leak her sex work account, when no, you approached him when he had already blocked you. You followed him, and he came to friends in confidence about it, and I asked him what he wanted to do about it. And he gave me his response. He said, I would appreciate it if you let people know that this is what she's doing to me, because he was terrified. Like, he really thought she was about to make this video on him and essentially destroy his YouTube career over the fact that he is friends with Ben the Looney, and he didn't want to get involved with what she was doing, or anybody for that matter. It didn't even feel biased to me that he wasn't trying to get involved with anybody, whether he be on his side or not. And he was just terrified that she sent him this message and she was making this threat to him. And then in a video about her dead dog now, her dog who she cherishes, Buddy, she puts in the last, she was slick. Like, people think that she's like, oh, she couldn't possibly be that maniacal. No, she's slick with it. She waited until the last 5 minutes of the video to go ahead and put her topics out there, which she was going to work on. That Yaoi video would have been a disaster. I'm glad she didn't do that one, because I would have had to make a counter video to it. Yep. But like, then she said, oh, I'm not going to make a video on Ben the Looney anymore, but he's a pedophile. And I'm just like, why are you keeping this up after it's been disproven? And then she talks about Trent being a quote unquote beta cuck, and it's like, no, you are the beta cuck. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Literally, I feel like this gif here is just like my feelings with the whole situation right now, with the whole Toby thing. I'm just like,
yes, that was me this whole time. I was like, bro,
it is a never-ending spiral. And thank you so much for this interview. I don't have any more questions, and you have given us so much information about the Yaoi debacle, and the influence of like Toby's just behavior in total, because there's been so much more before this main drama that's been blowing up, because people pouring in from every other community to give their 2 cents on it.
Yeah, like I've even told a few people who kind of come into my, like, have come to me and asked if they should make a video. I've told them, no, there's more than enough videos on this situation. Please don't make any more.
Literally, when I've been seeing more and more, I'm like, can we just not?
Yeah,
exactly.
And the last thing, this is the very last thing, is there anyone else you think that we should be talking to? We have attempted to talk to, not all successful.
Yeah,
but we have attempted to talk to.
I got the list right here. So we got Prismate Luke, Kai, Madlibs, Nezzy Monster, Hopeless Peaches, Toby. Let's see here. Yeah,
like with that one.
So I should probably cut off the recording here because we're done. Oh my god, it's been an hour.